This is the 2018 PRI show in Indianapolis, kind of capping off an event that has been started by our friends at JE Pistons. It's a competition. It's called the Masters of Motors. And earlier this week, the competition was announced and the winners have finally been selected. So I'm going to introduce our guests here and we're going to learn more about this. From the far end, we have Wayne and Dan Jesel, of course, from Jesel Valvetrain, our friend David Freiburger from Roadkill and all kinds of other stuff, and Ross Berlanga from JE Pistons, and the giant Masters of Motors trophy that is, how much does this weigh out, Ross?
85 pounds.
85 pounds, and he's been carrying it around on his shoulder all day. But now the Jesel guys get to carry it around. So you are our winners. David, you are one of the judges. Tell us why you chose their engine and what is it?
Well, I was part of a panel of judges that included myself, Brian Lohnes, who's now the Fox anchor for NHRA, Jeff Smith, who hired me at Hot Rod Magazine 27 years ago and is well known in the industry as being a tech guy. And then we also had Mike Kojima, who does MotoIQ. And we had done this at the SEMA show, and we knew that we had a challenge coming into PRI, that everything was going to be a lot more hardcore. We have a number of categories that JE gave us in order to judge. I think there's 8 of them. So we had Sport Compact winners and Drag Race winners, NA, on and on. But there's got to be an ultimate Engine-Uity Award, which is this trophy. And at SEMA, we gave it to Joe Schubeck, who had an engine that he had built from scratch in like the 80s. And at this show, we had 2 of them that had just come out of guys' minds and been created not really based on anything production. One of them was Mike Moran's engine that he's had around for 4 or 5 years at this point, 100% billet. And the other one was one that Dan had been working on for the past 7 years. And it was a big struggle to decide which one of these things had the most innovations in it, especially since you had worked with Mike on that other engine.
Yes.
But one of the greatest moments for me of this whole show, the greatest moment, is when we gave you that award and Mike came up and gave you a hug and had to get in the photo. And he told me afterwards, you guys made the right choice. He's got the good unit on there. So it was very, very cool.
Well, Dan, tell us about the engine.
Okay, I've been in the valve train business for 40 years, and how I got in it, I put we were racing small block Chevrolets, and I wanted to put big block rockers on. So I went through that process, and it required a lot of work, and when we were done, it wasn't still quite right. So I was able to go into the valve train business after that, and during the 40 years, most of the heads, or all the heads that we work on, it's still a marginal situation. You still don't have 100% of what it could be. But the trouble is, we're working off of OEM factory packages, bolt patterns, the deck heights, cam heights, and you're always tied into that. And the aftermarket is attracted to that because that's what they sell to, for their business. Well, I helped Mike Moran do his engine, complete billet, and when it was done, I was disappointed because we still used a certain amount of factory bolt patterns and whatnot.
Chrysler Hemi valve train.
Yes, correct. So it came out very well, the best it's ever been for a Hemi, but it still lacked what it could have been. So I decided that I'd like to start from scratch and do it the way I felt it could and should be done. And that was 7 years ago. And I started it, and it was coming along, and then I'd get stumped with a few things, and I'd park it for a while and do a little bit more thought, and then I went off and did a few other things. I did some oil pump work and whatnot. I got back on it, off it. Then I finally pulled the plug. We did a block. I got the block finished 2 years ago, the full billet block. And then after getting it, I did all the accessories, and it's taken the 2 years to accessorize it and put everything where I think I know where it should be. And I call the motor an equal 8. And what I mean by that is the valve train is absolutely straight from the tappet to the valve, no offset, push rods and whatnot. And then because of the other situation with the 4 bolts per cylinder, it brought the cylinder head in a better spot where the intake manifold is directly across from each other. And then quite a few. Well, it's a long list of other things: valve spring adjuster, cup, special nuts that I made. Just quite a few.
It goes on
Yeah,
forever.
on and on. Yeah,
You look at the thing and you just keep discovering all these things that he's done to make things simple.
I got a list here. I forget half of it, to be honest.
Yeah, and you
So,
invented it. Yeah, right.
But anyway,
Oil pump was a key issue.
yeah, they were, yes. Actually, 3 weeks ago, I was working on the engine, and we finished a few parts like the water manifolds on the side and whatnot. And I was working on it, and one of the fellows said, "Are you going to take that to the PRI show?" And I said, "No," because to me it wasn't done.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, somebody else said, "Are you going to take that to the PRI show?" And I go, "No." Well, a few other people said, "Why don't you take that? It's all, it's enough to show. You don't have to have the pan on it and the other head on it and whatnot." So I'm thinking about it for a few days. I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll take it." And then we come here, and here for a while, and Wayne finds out that you have a contest going on, and what a great trophy that you have. So somebody came along and gave Wayne a form. Wayne fills it out,
David and
right?
Brian.
Yeah.
And this morning he gets a text to be over there at 11 o'clock, and I'm there.
Yeah, basically said,
and I see
you might want to be there.
And I see one of those little trophies. I said, "Boy, that'd be kind of neat, the first time and all that." And we get to the end, and I was almost in tears, to be honest. And with Mike Moran, because we went through, and he knew, what we had accomplished along, back in, it's been at least 5 or 6 years ago. So that's mainly the story.
It's a great story, and what I love is the timing of it all, because you didn't plan this out. You
No.
didn't say, "I'm going there," because this award didn't exist 6 months ago.
Right.
This is a pretty new thing that
Right.
JE is doing.
First thing at SEMA.
Right, and on top of that, for Moran, who you worked with to be
Yeah,
here at the same
right.
time, and then
Yeah.
it kind of came down between you two.
Yeah.
Now, David, did the judging team know this backstory about the relationship of Jesel and Moran?
One of the things we did when we were judging is go back and read the story that we did in Hot Rod on Mike's engine a long time ago to
Right,
sort of
right.
compare and contrast. We knew that you had been working on that thing closely, and it was a tough competition, but I think, we made the right call. And here's the other bit of news that we haven't talked about yet, is Wayne is going to run this thing in the truck at Bonneville this year, maybe
Hopefully.
next year. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing we didn't touch on is some of your standard specs. So do we know a cubic inch on this thing, and what
Yes.
kind of power we're talking about? Was it run on compression, all that jazz?
Well, it hasn't been
It
done
has not
yet,
yet run.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what's the plan anyway?
but it's 427 inches. We're hoping to make at least 3 horsepower per cubic inch.
Nice.
So, but he'll probably put it just to do some shakedown runs with it. Put it in the drag race type car just to make sure everything's okay. It would be like a B altered type car.
Okay.
And we'll make sure that everything is okay with that, and then later on prepare it for the long runs at Bonneville.
And you'll run it NA at Bonneville.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yes.
And the head design is what?
Well,
It's an extremely
basically,
twisted wedge.
It's based off a P5 Chrysler, the Pro Stock truck head.
Okay.
Not the whole head, and Tom Slotko did the head. He basically forced me into using that design. We went back and forth many times, and he's got engines now that run over 3 horse per inch with that style head, and that's why he was adamant of selecting that head.
Yeah.
So I have to give credit to Tom for coming up with the porting and combustion chamber and whatnot, and the machine work. He did a fabulous job. It's totally ported for water, all the 360 degrees around the side, and
Wow.
like I say, he did all the other machine work, which is just superb, along with Charlie Weston, that he did the block, who was also superb, and Wittenberg did the crank, and between the 3 of them, I couldn't have gotten more jewelry parts than I did.
Did Wilson do the intake?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah, Keith cut that?
yes.
And you've been mentioning how you were able to align all of the valve train geometry
Correct.
and all that stuff. Are any of those pieces available off-the-shelf parts, or is absolutely everything customized?
You need the whole package to make that work, and that's why for years we weren't able to do to make it work, because you need everything. You need the cam up, you need the cam bearings between the mains, you need the 4-bolt pattern.
What's the deck height on it?
8.5.
Okay, so it's short like a small block Ford, but the push rods are only this long, and they're the half-inch push rods. Absolute rigidity, perfect straight line.
Perfect straight line.
Yeah,
It's,
it's gonna be,
it's
See,
like the ultimate.
I call it equal 8 straight column valve train. And what I mean by straight column, the push rods come out of the bore absolutely straight, no angle whatsoever, go into the rockers perpendicular. So it's just a straight, easy.
And no offset in the rocker at all.
Nothing.
So do we lengthen the cam, or how do we make all that happen?
Well, it is a 5-inch bore center, which is quite long for that size engine.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem, because most OE, they keep on shortening them up to fit in the cars. And it's a wet sleeve motor. So we can replace the sleeves easy, plus the cooling, which I paid attention to. Oiling, cooling. I built a variable displacement pressure pump. Quite a few things.
Yeah, this is some serious stuff. Yeah. And we're assuming that because you engineered that valve train, it's going to be stable.
Way high.
Way
Over
high.
12,000.
Over 12,000.
Right.
But it's genius way beyond the valve train itself. I mean, it's got removable skirts, so you can bolt those on there. If you look at the crankcase, is it cross bolted? The mains are as
No,
wide
so you
as
don't
they
need.
are.
You don't need a cross bolt.
Okay.
No, it's like my brands isn't cross bolted. In other words, they're wide bulkheads. They're inch 200. One of the top fuel guys stopped by the booth. Yours are 1/100, mine are 1/200.
Yeah.
The bulkheads, and you got the splayed outer, and like I say, Mike Moran's motor makes over 5,000 horsepower with the same basic cap. The same fellow built both the caps, and they're almost.
So that ain't going anywhere.
That's not going. All the side bolting, that's for weak blocks. In other words, a NASCAR doesn't have side bolting,
Yeah.
right?
Heavy's
yeah,
in
thin, lightweight
1964.
stuff.
That is what you're saying.
Steel,
Yeah.
yes, production or where
When
there's
you're asking things to do what they weren't designed to do.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, hey, it's really amazing that you've been able to get this thing together. Ross, a few words from JE on the contest and to our winner.
I just want to thank Dan and Jesel for coming on board to be a part of Masters of Motors, especially to see the camaraderie. It was really heartfelt to see you up on stage getting the award, and with Mike Moran. Man, it meant the world to all of us to see that. It was really great.
Yeah. And we asked him to say a few words because his voice is long.
And
Otherwise it's
I
an
think
awful.
what the other thing neat about this is that you guys are so representative of this whole industry. I mean, you were racing junior stock in the 60s, out of your backyard, and here you are
Actually,
now.
I did a replica of that car. And
Did
it's
you?
the
Who too?
Yeah, and it's at the NHRA museum
Oh,
now.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen
it's
it
been
there. I
about
gotta
a
do
year.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this is a tremendous accomplishment. Round of applause for the Jesels and their
Absolutely.
amazing engine. We look forward to seeing it and hearing it run. And David, thanks to you and the team of judges for selecting it. Thanks to JE for making it happen. Kind of another special moment at the PRI show in 2018 here in Indianapolis.